Hi, I'm Zach, and this is your Challenger Vedic Astrology and Tarot. Welcome to the channel. Alright, so today we're talking about why did Robert Oppenheimer become the father of the atomic bomb? And if you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out me in the channel to be notified whenever I release a new video. Be sure to hit the notification bell icon and select all. And if you'd like a Vedic Sidereal birth chart, a personal tarot reading, or an astrology consultation, the links to those will be in the description box and the comments below. Alright, so I finally watched Oppenheimer. And after doing so, first off, movie was kind of disjointed, kind of all over the place. Had good acting, good directing, but the editing made it a little... what's the word I'm looking for? Like I said, disjointed. Disjointed and kind of hard to follow. But the story of the real man's a lot more interesting. This is a review channel. Back to the astrology, Zach. Alright. So, Robert Oppenheimer, known as the father of the atomic bomb. He led the nuclear weapons program for the United States during World War II. And the project he oversaw led to the atom bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. So, we're going to talk about this man who, arguably, through his work, ended up to the single, biggest event of, human destruction that we've ever seen. So, we're going to get into this by digging into his chart. Okay, so here we have the birth chart of Robert Oppenheimer. On the left, we have his D1 birth chart. On the right, we have the D9 Navamsa chart. And for those that haven't watched a video like this before, the birth chart shows a person's early life up until their early to mid-30s. But to see how a person grows and develops as a person, you have to look at the D9 Navamsa chart. That shows from a person's early to mid-30s onwards until they die. You're missing out a big chunk of who a person is if you don't look at the Navamsa chart. Now, let's talk about Robert Oppenheimer. So, people said he was a very difficult man to know. A difficult man to understand. Of course he was. Reason being, he's a Pisces ascendant. You will notice with Pisces ascendants, it is very hard to understand this person. In order to understand a Pisces ascendant, you have to have either Jupiter in the ascendant, or you have to be a Pisces ascendant yourself. These are the people that can understand a Pisces person. Why is that? Well, Pisces is a sign of other worlds. This person's head is off in other worlds, in the clouds. It's hard to ground this person, to make sense of them. Now, on top of that, in the Navamsa, he's a Vishaka ascendant. That's the nakshatra of his ascendant. Vishaka is a nakshatra of division, of a split. He split society. He had split views. A Vishaka person can almost be bipolar. 1 minute they'll be one way, the next they'll be the other. You can't pin this person down. This person led the nuclear weapons program in the United States, but at the same time, he also, did a lot of research into communism. Yeah, Oppenheimer was a big part of communist organizations. Really, took part in gatherings, tried to learn about them, tried to understand their ideology. This man This kind of surprised me when I learned it. But his favorite philosophical works were actually Vedic works. The Bhagavad Gita and, other Vedic astrological works. The quote, "I am become death." That's actually a quote from Vedic scripts. Quoting Vishnu, I believe. I think it's "I am become death, destroyer of worlds." Anyways, but he was a big fan of Vedic philosophy, which I found surprising. But that's Oppenheimer. Now, how do we see that he would have been a great scientist? Well, first off, we have Jupiter in the ascendant with Venus. So, conjunctions and trines. Jupiter, Venus can make a person very learned. You have an exalted Venus as the 8th lord of research in the ascendant with Jupiter in its own sign with directional strength. Yes, he would have had wisdom about him. He would have had education. And it's with Ketu. Ketu is the planet that signifies research. He was even interested in learning about the occult. 8th lord of the occult in the ascendant exalted. With Ketu, the significator of the occult. This man was a part of secret organizations. He worked for the government in secret at Los Alamos. His ascendant is Uttar Bhadrapada. Uttar Bhadrapada is secret organizations that are either spiritual or criminal or otherwise. It's about secret groups. So we clearly see that that would have been a big part of his life. Now, he was able to lead people. Despite being a scientist, and that's all he was able to lead a large group of other scientists. He didn't have experience leading groups before he started working at Los Alamos. But he has an exalted sun in the second house of speech. Exalted sun in the second house, what you will notice is people listen when this person talks. Now, what would he talk about? Mars and Bharani as the second lord. Bharani is rules, regulations, and also death. This man's speech led to the death of a lot of people. His soul planet, Mercury, planet of communication in Critica. Critica is about criticism, but it's also cutting and burning. They had to split the atom for nuclear fission to create the atomic bomb. Now, what else do we see? Well, Saturn in Dhanishta. So, his heaviest of karma would have been tied to Dhanishta in the 11th house. 11th house is large organizations. 11th house is friends. Dhanishta is war. Warriors are seen through Dhanishta. Dhanishta is also marital karma, relationships. So, he had an affair with a friend's spouse. His heaviest of karma was tied to relationships. Saturn in the Navamsa goes into Uttar Falguni. This is a nakshatra of marriage, also relationships. It's also a nakshatra of fighting. It's in the 12th house of foreign lands. Heaviest of karma would be to fight with foreign people. Also, to potentially lose a relationship. He had someone he was in love with, that even after he was married was having an affair with, who killed themselves. So, we see theme of fighting, theme of relationships and marriage, were the heaviest of karma in his life. Now, his moon is in Punarvasu. Punarvasu is tied to pairs. It's tied to multiples of things. So, his moon in the Navamsa goes into the 9th house in Ardra. Ardra is the nakshatra of destruction. So, he created 2 bombs that led to destruction and sorrow and anger in a foreign land. We look at all of this in a person's chart when I analyze it. Now, what we also see is he has a debilitated Jupiter in the Navamsa. So, despite him having a fair amount of wisdom, fair amount of knowledge with Jupiter in its own sign in the ascendant with directional strength, safe to say, it wasn't used for the best purpose. Though he did regret later in life. Not that he created the atomic bomb, but he wanted an international organization to regulate nuclear weapons instead of the arms race that was a big part of the Cold War. And that led to a lot of division with the government. We see Ketu in the 11th house. 11th house is large organizations. Ketu is separation, cuts. It's in the nakshatra of Maga. Maga is the nakshatra of leadership and government. He would have a disconnect with large organizations tied to the government. And we see in his birth chart, the cusp of his 6th house of enemies is 12 degrees, 46 arc minutes. That becomes the nakshatra of Maga. His enemies would be within the government. And we clearly see he was practically the victim of a witch hunt. They removed his security clearance simply because he was striving for nuclear weapons regulation. He didn't want the hydrogen bomb to be created. And also we see why he was so brilliant in strategizing when it came to leading the creation of the atomic bomb. Venus and Mercury in Purva Ashada. Purva Ashada is nakshatra of strategies. Venus and Mercury, once again, a great communicator. Third Lord of Communication, exalted as well in the birth chart. And what is he known as? The father of the atomic bomb. Moon in Ardra. With Sun in Punarvasu. But Ardra is the nakshatra of fatherhood. Plain and simple. So we even see why he had the reputation that he had. Outside of just destroying. Why was he known as the father of the atomic bomb? Because of Moon and Ardra. And that is his 10th lord of status and fame. So that's what he became famous for. And Ardra is a nakshatra of futuristic intelligence. He was a very intelligent man. But yeah, so this was Robert Oppenheimer. And next we will be looking at another famous figure from World War II. Someone who also caused a lot of destruction. And if you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Really helps out me in the channel to be notified whenever I release a new video. Be sure to hit the notification bell icon and select all. And if you'd like a Vedic Sidereal birth chart, a personal tarot reading, or an astrology consultation, links to those will be in the description box in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.